where we talk about video games. I know I just really like getting real hyped up at the beginning of the show. I don't know, it's where I get my energy from since we shoot this in the morning and we're all sort of still waking up. I'm Ashley.
I'm Gus.
I'm Adam.
And this episode is brought to you by Beachbody On Demand. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a bit. But before we get into all our topics for the day, we're going to talk God of War. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that's happening in video game news. What you been playing? Have you been playing anything that's not God of War?
I've played a little tiny post update on The Witcher. I played a little more before God of War came in, so I'm still playing Blood and Wine. That is a fantastic game. That's pretty much all I have to say. My dad is also now playing. He's in. He got his controller. He's playing. He texted me. I think it was like Sunday, and he's like, I got up at 9 today to play an hour of The Witcher, and I played 5 hours. And then he texted me later on in the day, he's like, I killed the Griffin first try. I'm like, Dad, this is so great. So that's The Witcher. I got someone tweeted me like The Witcher school prices. They're like $3,000 or something to go.
Okay.
I'm like, oh man, I really kind of want to do it.
What does that mean?
Maybe next year. Oh, you haven't been here. First off, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been ages since we've done
a week or two
together.
Yeah.
You've been traveling
and running around
in crazy meetings and doing presentations.
It's been busy. Gus has been busy for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
When I'm back.
So there's I've been into The Witcher, as you may know.
I do know that.
And someone tweeted me that there's a thing called Witcher School, and it's a thing in Poland where for 3 days you are role-playing in a castle as a Witcher student, and like you're doing sword fighting and archery and like feasts and all this fun shit. And I'm like, man, that sounds fun.
Sign me up.
That sounds pretty cool.
It sounds fucking awesome.
$3,000?
It's somewhere in that range. I don't remember the exact price, but like there's also I cannot remember the words. There's really good photography of it if you want to check it out. But it looks fantastic. So that's my Witcher update, and then I played God of War, which we can talk more about. This popular sequel for War Gods.
War Gods.
The N64 game. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I've been like so busy I haven't had a chance to play too much, but of course I've been playing the PUBG Savage map since that's in testing right now.
How's that?
It's only on the experimental server. I think I might like it more than Erangel. And I think it's definitely better than Miramar. The game is so much more fun on that smaller map.
Because it changes the pace up quite a bit, doesn't it? Makes it a lot faster.
Yeah, it's absolutely a lot faster. And I don't know, there's like there's a few more bridges. There's even some like foot bridges that you can't necessarily take a vehicle onto. And I think the terrain's great. The one complaint I have is the sound of the metal doors on that map are the stuff of nightmares. It's so loud and jarring. Hopefully they fix that.
Have you been keeping up? There's like some drama. Like people are like, Fortnite is great, but the PUBG players that hate Fortnite are dicks, and there's like people on two sides of that argument, and man, I've never seen so much drama surrounding two games like that are like, they're not even like being put head to head, people are just doing that. Like people are instigating that problem.
Well, you know, it's a lot like console wars or anything else. People basically sign up for a team, and then that's their team, and they will defend it at all costs.
And if they sign up for Fortnite, they're wrong.
You're part of the problem.
Although it's also interesting to see the number of people that did migrate either from PUBG or who picked up Fortnite because it was free and were like, yay, and that's all it took was being free.
Yeah, I mean, free is a good thing, especially like if you're a high school kid and like you don't have a lot of money, but all your friends are playing this game. Like, of course you're gonna hop on.
Right.
Sure. Well, it makes it easy and accessible too, because there's no barrier to getting all of your friends involved.
Yep.
Yeah, and free is a good price.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much that's going to happen in the Battle Royale space, though. We're already hearing that, so we already heard Red Dead Redemption 2 will probably have some sort of Battle Royale. Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, going to do Battle Royale.
A train heist with 100 people competing to rob a train. And only one person can.
Imagine the town shootout.
Maybe gangs of 10 people are competing to rob a train.
Yeah.
So I
like different themes for Battle Royale. I might be in like Western theme. I might be in.
I like this idea of like a moving objective that everyone's trying to chase down. As opposed to like being corralled into an area, your objective is moving, and everyone has to go to that area in order to try to win.
You know, and especially if it's moving, that's going to mix it up a bunch too. And then reportedly, Battlefield is also testing a Battle Royale mode. So. Just saying.
We hope you like Battle Royale.
Just saying we called it, It is the new horde mode. Everything is gonna
Yoshi's
have
Murders
Battle Royale.
The Last of 100, Halo 6 Combat Royale.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yakuza
be
100. That's awesome.
It's gonna be everywhere.
The Halo 6 logo looks strangely not like the previous Halo logos. It looks strangely amateurish and not quite official for some reason.
Weird. I wonder how that happened. So, I'm curious to see what'll happen sort of with that genre or with that mode once there are so many games doing it, because it is one of those games that seems like it takes a higher population to continue supporting it. Because if every match is 100 people, you need a lot more people playing.
Yeah,
But
true.
it's just me. But I do like the idea of a Western one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a shot. I'm excited for Red Dead, period. The game's fucking awesome.
All right. It's been weeks, Gus. What have you been playing? Just PUBG, that's it?
Yeah, I said I've been busy. That's all I've had time for.
Well, no, but I thought that you might play one or two other
Yeah,
things
and
possibly.
I've been playing a little bit of Far Cry 5. I still haven't finished it. I think I'm getting close to finishing it.
Do you like it?
I really loved it at first, and then I'm liking it less as I go on. I don't know if that's going to change.
I didn't.
Which area did you go into first?
John Seed?
So the bottom left?
Yeah, bottom left.
Yeah, that's the best area in the game, and the rest of them are.
Yeah,
That's what I'm discovering.
Yeah,
I
the other
think
two
that
are like
all of ours.
kind of.
There's a reason they recommended you go to that area.
They're like, we put all the effort into this area. The rest of it's kind of boring. Like, dude, I was like genuinely impressed by the first area, but the other two areas are like not the best.
But the best companions are in the other areas.
Yes, Cheeseburger is the
Look,
best companion in pretty much any game.
I love
can pet him.
the doggo. I love the hustle sticks. But comparing it to Cheeseburger the bear and Peaches the cougar, I mean,
They did a really smart thing adding a pet button in that game, like to be able to
dude,
pet them.
being able to
Yeah.
being able to
animals.
pet a
Yeah.
cougar is so cool, and a bear.
Yeah.
Like,
I do like that the dog marks stuff for you.
yeah.
Yeah, but
They each have their own things. So the dog
dog
will
always gets
mark
killed.
things, but he also has a tendency to run in and start fights before I'm ready.
yeah.
Where Peaches will do silent takedowns,
Mm.
which is awesome.
I do like the silent takedowns.
And Cheeseburger will just he'll just sit on everything. It's fine. He'll just rolls over all of it. He's a heavy. So I dig that. And also I love that his collar has cheeseburgers on it.
Yeah,
great.
it's cute.
It's great. But I would agree with you. I think John Seed's area is definitely the highlight. I love the pumpkin patches.
Oh my
for
God,
sure.
the
All that stuff
visually,
is
that's
great.
such good set pieces there.
I get annoyed though because I feel like I don't know if this changes eventually at some point in the game, but I feel like for a large part of the game now, I just hate that airplane. That's like always finding you.
I've been traveling a helicopter, so it takes like one bullet to kill an airplane.
Yeah, well, you also got an attack
I got an
helicopter
attack
immediately with the
helicopter.
game because of the
What's
version
up?
that you got. Because you were playing PS4.
I was playing PS4, yeah.
And I was playing Xbox One, and you got like some crazy edition.
I got deluxe, and it comes with the deluxe attack helicopter.
Oh, so I could have paid more for the edition
Yeah,
that
it's-
eliminates the problem I'm having.
It's quite pay to win, yes.
And I hate I'm sneaking through the forest, and the pilot's like, "Oh, I see him," and starts shooting at me. Like, how the fuck did he see me?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but what I do in that case is just if I'm out in an area, I sometimes just get the pilot as a buddy so he can chase him off.
that's fine.
So that I don't have to worry about him, and then I'll switch him out for one that's useful in combat situations for attacking outposts or whatever. But overall, fun game. I like it.
It's good. I'm happy. I'm happy I'm playing it.
I like it. I've been playing mostly God of War. We got the codes pretty recently. We got them. They came in Saturday night. So we put a discussion video up. It went up late last night. You are second host. I'm very
second
sorry
host
about that.
at Twitter handle. Follow me now. Thank you.
I kind of got sick in the middle of a newsread yesterday. I think I have an iron deficiency or something. So I went home
gotta eat
immediately
metal
after we recorded yesterday and basically went to bed and didn't double check the video before I went up. And I'm sorry about that.
Fine, I'm not upset.
No,
about
but
it.
I'm upset. I'm sorry.
not.
I'm sorry.
They misspelled my name once years ago.
What? How did they spell?
I don't remember, but Corolla was misspelled.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was like 2 years ago.
Like
It's been a while.
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
We do that sometimes. We're very, very professional. But because it came in Saturday, so I basically was at the Ren Fair Saturday, went to the Sherwood Forest Fair. This weekend is the last weekend. Not sure if I'm going to make it out again. I don't have another dress to wear.
Or they're done for the season?
So there are 2 Ren Fairs in this area.
Yeah.
There's the Sherwood Forest Fair.
The Ferris.
And that goes March, April. I'm not
Oh.
sure if it's open at all in February, but it's like an 8-week window. And then there's the Texas Renaissance Festival, and that's later in the year. That's the one that we went to last year for the Bernie vlog.
I just kind of assumed those were open all months besides winter.
No, they
they run.
close down when the outside catches fire in summer.
That's probably for the best.
Except that the Texas Renaissance Festival is in September, October, and then a little bit of November.
That's like when the fire's going out.
September is still pretty hot in Texas.
Speaking of heat, I've lived without AC in my car for 3 years, and I got it fixed yesterday, and it's awesome.
Congratulations.
How did you do that?
It was like very expensive to fix. It was my compressor. So, and I tried like everything else to fix it, and then I finally took it in. They're like, yeah, it's going to be like $1 bajillion, and I was like, I only have half $1 bajillion, so no, thank you. And finally, I was like, I fucking need this.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of like, and it was fine when I was driving, but when I'm sitting in traffic and there's no air moving, oh my god.
Yeah, well, and we do spend a lot of days over 100 degrees here in Austin.
Well, I know I can handle it. I'm tempered by heat.
You've been forged. So basically, because I lost Saturday, so I didn't get to play Saturday, so I basically played all of Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Was playing like 8 to 10 hours a day trying to get through the game. A very enjoyable marathon, I might add.
Really like that game.
Should we talk about it?
If that's all, if that's all you've been playing, let's fucking do it.
All right, let's do it. But before we do that, I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Beachbody On Demand. This is a sponsor that I'm very excited about. I'm trying this out now. I've gone on my journey of fitness. I've talked about it here on the show before. But Beachbody On Demand is it's really cool. I didn't know much about it before, but it's a streaming service that gives you access to a wide variety of workouts you can do in your living room 24/7, which is awesome. It's the same company behind P90X, Insanity, 21 Day Fix, that kind of stuff. I've done P90X before. I will admit I made it to about day 4. But I have some friends that made it all the way through the 90 days, and they were ripped. So I should have stuck with it. I'm going to try this time. But you can get motivated by celebrity super trainers like Shaun T, Shailene Johnson, Tony Horton, several more. There are hundreds of workouts for a bunch of different fitness levels, so ranging from bodybuilding or to weight training to cardio to, I don't know if it's an acronym, HIIT or HIIT. That's like a level of fitness knowledge.
High-intensity interval training.
That sounds
look at
right.
you.
Nice work, Adam. Yoga, dance workouts, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of variety, which I like because I enjoy doing my cardio, but then I also realize that if I don't want to be just like skinny fat, I also got to do like weight training and get my sweet muscles so that I have some sweet muscles to expose.
Yeah, I guess.
And they also, you can view them on your computer or web-enabled TVs or tablets or smartphones. So it's pretty much anywhere you can get access to Beachbody On Demand. The 3-week yoga thing, I have terrible hip flexibility. So I'm trying to work on that. Yoga is a really big help. And they've got a 3-week yoga retreat that's very lovely.
I kind of want to do yoga.
Yoga's pretty great. I took Bernie to yoga once, and he says he didn't enjoy it, but I think he really did.
I feel like it's something I would like.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, it's like a stretching session, and then you're doing, because you're holding poses, you do muscle flexing, but it doesn't feel like you're like getting after it and going hard. You're treating yourself.
Sure.
And it's really nice. You come out of it feeling really great. And so you can try it at home if you want to.
That sounds awesome.
And there's no equipment required. So try Beachbody On Demand. It's so accessible. You don't need to sit in traffic without your air conditioning to get to the gym or anything. It just comes to you. So right now you can get a special free trial membership when you text glitch to 303030, and you'll get full access to the entire platform for free. That's all the workouts, all the nutrition information, all the support, and that's totally free. Just text glitch to 303030, and if you want to tweet me the things that you're doing, and I'll tweet the things that I'm doing, and we can support each other, because I do find that holding myself accountable to people beyond me is very helpful, because I'm just way too lenient with myself. It's really easy to not do it.
Of course.
Yep.
But it's, I actually got tweeted like yesterday, someone going, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, "No, I just gained a lot of weight over the winter."
Jesus.
Thanks. So, but that's a sign that I should probably do something about it, about my little gut. But that comes up as a comment more than I'd like, so I'm trying to fix it.
What?
Yeah. Hold her accountable. Don't be rude.
Right. Speaking of pregnant, let's talk about daddies and gods of war. Sweet. Okay, so full disclosure, right at the top, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. We received these codes from Sony. They were pre-release codes. Anyone who's put any content out before the game is out received pre-release codes
received pre-release
from
codes, yep.
Sony, but we want to disclose it anyway, just to be totally transparent.
Yep.
But I've played through, I've completed the game, not 100%ed it, but I've completed the story and some of the side quests. You also completed it.
Yeah.
Do you know about how long it takes you to complete the story?
It was like, dude, it was a good 25 to 30 hours.
Okay.
Yes, and that's without going nuts on the side quests. There is enough to do outside of it, and there's a lot of things that I was going through the story, I'd find an area, start fighting something, it just beat me into the ground repeatedly. I'd be like, no, there's gotta be something I can do. And it turns out, I think I just wasn't meant to do those things yet.
Gotcha.
There are things that are meant to be done once you complete the game.
Yeah, or just when you're higher level. That whole experience, man, if you like exploration and like collectibles in games and little side paths to go on while you're doing a main story, it's so much fun.
Yeah, although a lot of people refer to it as open world. It's not.
It's definitely
It's not exactly. It's not exactly open world. It's not like I can see that mountain, I can get to the top of that mountain open world.
It has branching paths.
It does. So there's the game world is more or less based around this lake. And the lake is sort of the hub. You can go off in this direction, get to this area, go off in this direction, get to this area. You can basically take a boat that will get you closer to those areas, and then you explore from there. So it's not open world, but you can kind of go to a bunch of these places
Right.
In different orders as you like. So it's open in that sense. It's just not, it's just not a full.
You can't just start walking towards the horizon.
You have a hub
It's
world. You can explore the hub world, and then the other places you go, there are branching paths within those places.
Sure.
So, but it's very clearly defined. Like you're going to walk into X area, and that's going to be segmented off from other areas. You're just
and
going to go in.
that's going to have like different puzzles that you need to complete to move through the area.
Right.
You can't just keep walking through it.
Did you all play it on a regular PS4 or PS4 Pro?
Regular PS4?
Mostly PS4 Pro. I played a little bit on a base PS4 here in the studio, but mostly I played on a PS4 Pro at home.
I was like stunned at how well it ran on PS4 Pro. It's one of those games like
base
when
PS4.
Base PS4. When you look at that game, it's like when I first started playing Horizon. I was like, how is this running on a PS4? And there was like in my 25 to 30 hours of story playthrough, there was like 10 seconds of FPS slowdown. A little at the beginning, a little at the end. That's it. So the game looks fantastic.
Yeah, and I got none of those slowdowns on PS4 Pro, but with Pro you can choose if you want to optimize for frame rate or
Performance,
graphics. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure what it defaulted to. I just left it. It looked amazing and ran really great, so I had no complaints. I had no reason to really change it.
Yeah. I also have spent some time in post-game, and there is quite a bit of content. So it's like 25, 30 hours to beat the story, but I would honestly say that there's anywhere between like 10 and 20 hours of other content to do after you've beaten the game or just as side content.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, it does seem like, and I didn't do it this time around. Usually I'm the type of gamer who I'll try to 100% an area, or I refuse to move on with the story until I've completed every possible side quest there is, and there's nothing left to do, and it's all just pushing me on, like,
You leave it
go do
barren.
your story.
You've done it all.
Exactly. This time, because I did know that there was something after the game, I felt okay continuing the story and focusing more on that than the side stuff, and figured I can come back to all of it because I was really enjoying the story, and so I wanted to kind of stick with it and see it through. So I haven't done a bunch of the side stuff. It does seem like some of the later game encounters would be easier if you take the time to do the side stuff and go explore and get better equipment.
I definitely did not have any problems with the game later on because I was doing so much side stuff. I always had like an excess of XP to spend and an excess of money to spend. So if you don't know, the game is set with Kratos and his son, Boy. And basically their overarching goal is to spread their mother's ashes in the highest peak, and the story basically evolves from that starting goal. But a big part of the game is just the relationship between those two characters and the other characters they meet, but primarily the father and son relationship. And it's so well done. I don't want to say it reminded me of The Last of Us, but in the fact that it had an interpersonal relationship between two characters, it definitely did. And it goes from there. And the combat is have you played previous God of War games?
I have not. You segued right into my next series of questions.
Yeah, so it's pretty different than previous God of War games. Previous God of War games were it was like a very high looking down third person perspective, a lot of fast paced action, a lot of crazy spectacle set pieces. This is a lot more like close in, it's a little over the shoulder, kind of the same perspective as like Resident Evil 4, maybe a little further back. And it's primarily focused on like your axe and your bare fists as combat, and there's a lot less enemies and a lot more focus on like meaty punches and cool moves and things like that.
And based on what I've seen, pretty much every enemy is more difficult on an individual level to defeat than in previous games, because that one seemed like it was very much like racking up a count.
Yeah, you'd be fighting
like combos.
Like 30, 40 enemies. You'd be fighting like 30, 40 enemies at a pop in the previous games. In this, it's like 3 to 7 enemies total. And when you hit those higher numbers of enemies, it does get really hard. But it's a good balance of challenge. Between the challenge, you're doing things like exploring and looking for collectibles, and those collectibles will have you doing some light puzzle solving. It's never like super difficult to figure it out, but there are some definite times where you're looking around for the solution, and when you find it, you get that like aha moment, and you get a reward for exploring. So if you like third-person action games and you want a good interpersonal story, man, I can't recommend it enough.
You kind of touched on something I wanted to ask. Like, is the experience lost if someone has not played previous games? Like, how versed are you in the universe?
I hadn't played previous games, and I went into it. I didn't feel lost. I think there are some moments in the game that are more powerful if you've already been on a journey with Kratos and you have been through some experiences with him previously. But I didn't, going in, what I knew was Kratos killed his pantheon previously. Like he went after all the gods and destroyed them because they did him wrong, killed his wife and son or something, wife and child, something like that. He was revenge.
He's just mad about stuff.
He was mad about stuff. And so he had, he killed his last pantheon and then moved here. And they don't read like the how he got from there to here and settled down and started a family. They don't really like go into that.
Okay.
At the beginning,
the setting is Norse mythology instead of Greek mythology.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just start out. You're living there. You've got a son. Wife just died. She's already dead. And that's where it starts.
Okay.
And then you sort of learn more about the family and such as you go.
Okay.
But you're not gonna immediately be like, I don't even know who anyone is referring to here.
I would actually say that I had a little bit of expectation that the game, it didn't disappoint, but there were some things that I thought, when you think of God of War, you think of, if you played the past games, you think of like big spectacle set pieces, like bosses as big as mountains, like just constantly, basically every level or whatever it was one-upping the last one. Like you fight something big and then you fight something even bigger and crazier and bigger and crazier, and it would keep going from there. And this game has a more like level-headed approach.
Okay.
Like, you're not fighting as grandiose enemies, and it's not as much of a spectacle, but it's a lot more personal. So having those expectations was a little, not a negative thing, but it definitely changed my experience a little bit.
Yeah, Ben actually just sent me a Polygon article here that says that they claim that this game may be better if you have no previous experience with the franchise.
Right, like it doesn't have any expectations to change.
Right. And yeah, like I said, there is some changes, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is different.
Okay.
But overall, gameplay is really solid. I suck at it. I'm gonna be upfront with that. We have very different experiences with the game that way. I was primarily doing story stuff, so I was constantly hard up for XP and for money, as far as like if I'd go to try and craft new armor or unlock new skills, I was constantly running out. So I didn't have everything unlocked until the very, very end, basically.
Yeah.
And I felt frequently underleveled compared to what I was fighting. And if I had taken more time to do some side stuff, I probably wouldn't have felt like that. But as a result, pretty much every combat experience was a difficult one for me. And part of that is because I probably suck at it. It's a lot of the enemies are pattern memorization. So each enemy has a certain number of different types of attacks, and as you encounter more powerful enemies, then maybe their attacks will flash a certain color just before they hit, and then you know if you can block it or if it's about to break a block. But they'll do something that tells you they're winding up for a certain type of attack, basically. And so if you're good at that sort of memorization, then you know, okay, they just did this, that means they're about to execute this. I need to dodge this way, or I can block this, or I can't block this. And so the better you are at that, I think the easier the combat's going to be.
Yeah. And I was actually surprised at the difficulty early on. I was dying like a pretty significant amount. And that was unexpected, but still a fun
And that's just on the regular difficulty.
Yeah,
There's 4 different
on the regular difficulty.
Okay.
There's easy, there's just like, give me a story. I don't know how easy that is because it was a point of pride not to step down to it, even when I was having a hard time. Then there's the regular mode, there's a difficult mode, and then there's a mode called Give Me God of War, and it's in red, so I didn't touch that one.
Nope. I might go back at some point and try it, but yeah, I was surprised early on at the difficulty, and it did take a few hours for me to get accustomed to the combat style, be able to sort of manage all the tools at your disposal, and then in addition to that, I got more powerful gear and got more experience, so I got more skills and became a more powerful like God of War.
So does this mean that the Norse gods are more powerful than the Greek gods?
Well, you're fighting mostly Norse trash, not gods.
So Norse trash is more powerful than Greek gods.
Yeah.
And or at the very
historically,
or at
you
the
heard
very
it here.
least,
In time.
at the very least, they're underlings.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's very well received. I'm looking at the Metacritic here for God of War, and it's currently sitting at 95, based on 93 critics.
Yeah, so it's now the #1 PS4 exclusive of all time.
Really?
As
Even
far
above
as far
Horizon
as
Zero
rating
Dawn?
goes, above Horizon. I think Horizon is a 93 or 94, so still very, very high.
Well, that's wrong then.
The only PS4 game that's rated higher is GTA 5, and that's not first party and it's multi-platform. But
Horizon Zero Dawn's got an 89 on Metacritic.
what? Interesting.
If you liked like the Last of Us, how it had banter between Ellie and Joel, this game does that as well and does it so well, and it fills all of the times that like you think that it might be boring to travel from point A to point B. There's some interesting point of conversation. Like it keeps you fully invested and sucked in. I loved it so much.
Yeah, and they'll sometimes use that to fill in gaps in the lore or in the world building. Sometimes they use it to build on the relationship between Boy, and Kratos. And just there's some byplay between the characters. It's really great too because Kratos is this sort of old world god type personality, very gruff, very serious. His priority is on teaching you to survive, boy. And he'll be like, Atreus. I always want to call him Atreus. I think it's from. Was Atreus the character in? Was he one of the sons in Myst? Anyway,
I don't remember.
Atreus, and he'll be like, Atreus, to me. And Atreus goes, yeah, I'm coming. He's just like this cute, normal-ish kid with old world god dad. And so that dynamic is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the Atreus helps you in battle as well, which is pretty cool. So he's not your heavy fighter.
Ben saying Atreus is a character from Myst.
Okay, there we go. That might be where that is locked in my brain. I always have to mentally check between Kratos and Thanos because I always pronounce their A's wrong. I'll be like, Kratos, no, that's not right. and I'll be like, and Thanos, wait, I don't think that's right either. I don't know. I've swapped their E's in my brain somehow. So I always have to stop and think about it for a second. But Atreus will help you in battle. He's archer, so he has his bow. He normally stays further back in combat, but you can command him to shoot a specific target, if you're trying to shock them or freeze them or distract them while you deal with someone else. And then he'll occasionally hop into combat and help to disable an enemy really quickly so that you can wail on them without them being able to get their guard up, things like that. And it's cool, there are just, this kid has moods as well. He's a young boy, he's going through a lot. And when he gets moods, it affects what he does and doesn't do in combat as well. So that actually plays out really
Is there like
well.
a mood meter, or like how do you measure that?
No, but it's all handled verbally.
Okay.
So it's just their relationship is evolving and having ups and downs, and they get in arguments and that sort of thing. It changes how they fight together as well, which I thought was a really cool development.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
But overall, when we talked about this game yesterday, I was like, I don't have a whole lot of critiques. They do some stuff with the controller lights
Apparently,
that are pretty bright. You can dim those, but by default they're pretty bright, and you want to manage the light level in the room if you can, because in a lot of games you're like, oh, everything, I'm just going to immediately turn all the brightness all the way up. It's difficult to do in this game because you lose a lot of detail if you do that.
Gotcha.
So you don't want to turn it all the way up, but then you might get glare on the screen and you can't see the dark stuff.
Gotcha.
So controlling there's just so much variation in the light levels that you want to control it as much as you can. And that's not even like a proper gripe with the game. It's just light levels in your room. That's not a gameplay criticism. Yep. And also, there's a lot of Metroid-ish elements to it.
As far as like collecting upgrades.
You'll see a door or something you can't open, and I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So there is some retreading of previously covered territory. If you're not into that, I could see how that would be pretty annoying.
I like it.
But I also
something to
found
do.
that when I went back through areas with different abilities, those areas played out differently.
Yep.
And I didn't have to keep solving the same puzzles over and over, which was helpful.
That's good.
Yeah, the level design in the game is pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, and lots of variation. I was worried it was just going to be snow and mountains.
Right.
That was going to be.
I mean, that's all you really see in the commercial.
Right, but there are a lot of pleasant surprises in terms of the overall design and the areas that you see.
Yep.
And it's the kind of game as well that. If we're dancing around some of the details, it's because a lot of it's fun to just discover.
Yep.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, there's a lot of times in this game I had a smile painted on my face just for one reason or another, but there's a lot of good surprises.
Yeah.
I
Brady
like
watched me
surprises.
play most of it.
Oh, did he?
Because I kept trying to get him to play it, and at first he was like, I'm not really interested in God of War games. It's not really my genre. I don't care all that much. And I was like, yeah, but, and then he watched it because it's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
And then he got more and more into it, and I think he's gonna play it now, just from seeing it.
Cool.
And also because I'd be like, you need to play this.
Yeah.
This is a great game. So big fan. Let us know if you're going to be if you're playing it, if you're checking it out. By the time this episode comes out, it will be released everywhere, so everyone can get hands on. You ended up pre-ordering a special edition of your own, right?
No, I was going to, and I decided that would be a dumb purchase.
What?
Because I already own the game. It'd be a waste of $60 of my $150 value. It's just.
But I
still have it in my cart. I'm still thinking about it.
But you want the other stuff in that collection edition, right?
I want the statue and all the little knickknacks.
You're
I don't
into
know
that
why
stuff,
I want
aren't you?
that stuff. Yes, I don't know why, but I want it. So I'm still thinking about it.
All right.
All right. Well, let us know what you end up deciding to do.
Well,
right.
if you buy it and it's a physical copy, you can just give it to your old friend Gus.
Totally.
It's true. That's true. This
It'll be a work expense then.
What's the last physical game you purchased?
The last physical game I purchased, I actually remember this. It was Dead Rising 3. It launched with the Xbox One because I wasn't prepared for the digital future of downloading games. So I bought it and I was like, oh, this was stupid. I could have just downloaded it.
Dude, I've been, every time I bought Horizon Zero Dawn in a physical copy because I didn't want to wait and download it that night. So I just went out and bought it. And when I went back to play it like a few months ago, I couldn't find the disc. So this is a nightmare. But yeah, I think that was the last one I bought, and Persona maybe too.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the last game I bought is. I know it's been years. The last game we might have purchased physically, and this wasn't even me specifically, but might have been the collector's edition of Fallout 4. Not for the physical copy of the game, but for the stuff that came with it.
Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I did buy that. That was after Dead Rising 3. I bought that also for the Pip-Boy.
One thing I do wish they would do is just let you buy collector's editions with a digital code. That would be cool.
They do that sometimes.
They do.
now.
They do. Yeah.
They do, and sometimes it's third-party bundles.
Sometimes it's dumb stuff though, like you still get a steelbook and no game.
Right.
I think what was it, Battlefield, or was it Battlefront 2 that did that, or Battlefield 1 or something? One of those games.
I think it might have been Battlefield 1.
Yeah, one of those games did something stupid like that.
Destiny 2 did that too.
Destiny 2,
Destiny
yeah,
2.
there you go.
That's not that long ago.
No. Well, they made a lot of dumb decisions.
That's true. All right, let's move on to talking about some of the current events that are happening with the news. All right, couple of things in the news. One of the big things that people have been talking about is Bethesda's rumored new IP, Starfield.
Ooh. We talked about this the other day.
We did.
Yeah.
So the Starfield thing, have you heard of it? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, someone's like, it's in space.
It's pretty accurate. So in 2013, Bethesda trademarked Starfield, and that's all anyone really knew about it. They renewed the trademark in 2016, and now it's rumored they're going to reveal Starfield this E3 for release this year. Because doing a same year announce and release seems to be Bethesda's new MO. They did it with Fallout 4. They did it with Dishonored 2. Did they do it with Prey? I'm not sure.
I don't think it was as fast of a turnaround with Prey. I don't remember.
Okay, but that seems to be the direction that Bethesda has been heading in. So if they announce it this year, makes sense they would release it this year.
Yeah.
Or within a year. I don't know, maybe we'll make Holiday. Holiday is definitely our assumption, though. They do like to release a lot of games in the holiday
And they'll release
period.
an app to go along with it.
And this is the rumored new IP from Bethesda Game Studios. So not Obsidian, not Arcane, not one of the
They're not publishing it. They're developing it.
Right.
Right.
It's in-house.
Yeah, so that would be the same studio that made Fallout 4, that made Skyrim.
Right.
And so trying to figure out what this game might be. It's all speculation right now. We don't really know. Based on the name Starfield, we assume space. So we don't know if we're talking like a Warhammer skin on Elder Scrolls or what that would be. But what would you want out of a space-based Bethesda game?
I'll be quite honest. I will play pretty much any Bethesda RPG that's in the same vein of Elder Scrolls or Fallout. But if it was in space, I would probably want multiple planets to travel to. That's such a hard thing to do, but something in the vein of like not No Man's Sky, but the ability to fly between planets and things like that is very important to me.
I said I wished that it could deliver what No Man's Sky promised.
That seems like a lofty hope. I mean, I feel like
I don't necessarily know that I need infinite planets
No.
or anything. I believe Skyrim did do some sort of procedural generation with some of the caves and things that you
dungeons.
could explore. So they have
But-
the roots of procedural generation, but I don't know if that's scalable to full-on planets.
Sure. But I guess for me, at least having different planets to travel to, even if it was like you picked it on a map and fast travel there and watch the ship go, and you would just have a zone on a planet you could be in. I would like just the ability for them to have multiple settings that were so vastly different from one another because they're on different planets is what I want.
I agree. I think if you're going to do a space-based game, the appeal of that is that different planets are all very different from each other, that you're going to get a lot of different landscapes, a lot of different experiences, different types of enemies that'll be on the different planets, because I mean, they're all enemies, assumingly.
No friends, only enemies,
Only enemies.
only attack.
Giants that launch you into the air on every planet.
Maybe different planet factions. That seems like the appeal of space. If you're in space and you can't go to a bunch of planets, why?
Why put it in space?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely don't want the game set on a space station. That's what I don't want.
What I said was, what if you have a space station that you travel around in?
What
That's no.
about
It's like
just have a spaceship?
You create a base then. Your
Oh.
space station's like base creation.
Man, I don't necessarily get down with base creation. Even in Fallout 4, a game I loved and played hundreds of hours in, never built a base really.
I built very rudimentary like turrets.
I built
That was
I
about
built like one thing. I was like, that was an experience. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But they do seem to have the tech. You know,
Yeah.
they've built that system, so that seems like something they'd be able to use. And doing your own space station or space base would be a pretty solid way to execute with that technology for
Totally.
this genre, I think.
I also built a garage for all my power armor.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Do
I used to use the existing garage that was sort of like an overhang carport.
Nah, made my own.
Yeah.
wow, just an overhang, huh? Your armor,
I just kind of like let
armor
my,
doesn't deserve any better than
No,
that?
I just let my took all
the
armor I didn't
climate
want, just took it
controller?
off in the grass or what was left of the grass, and it stayed on my lawn. That's fine.
You're like that house in the neighborhood that everyone hates. You got a car up on
You got like
cinder
a
blocks.
sideways ladder in the yard. Yeah.
One of the things that I would like from a Bethesda game in space is the level of lore we get with Elder Scrolls. So for Bethesda stuff, I'm much more an Elder Scrolls player than a Fallout player historically.
Are you just into fantasy more than sci-fi?
Usually.
I'm too.
Usually I like sci-fi, but if I had to decide between the two, I would go fantasy more so,
Yeah.
probably. And Fallout, it might be the post-apocalyptic thing. I actually really love the art style and presentation of, what is it, diesel punk?
It's like, I thought it was
Is
like
that what
retro
they're-
futuristic kind of.
Yeah, it's retro future, but there's a name for that specifically because it's not steampunk or anything. It might be considered diesel punk.
Diesel. We're getting like really into
Yeah.
niche genres.
Well, sure, but I love that presentation and that style and everything. But post-apocalyptic is more hit or miss for me setting-wise. It's cool that you can see actual like realistic areas and that they use settings that you're familiar with but twist them around
Right.
in new and interesting ways, and that's pretty cool. But historically, Elder Scrolls is where I started. And so for me, it was like that's the base, and then I expanded to Fallout a little bit. But I love the depth of lore in the Elder Scrolls games. I started playing with Morrowind, and a lot of the books that you can find in Morrowind, and a lot of the lore and history and such is in the games past that too. So they're able to build on their library of lore. In Skyrim, I can find books and texts and stuff that are in Morrowind as well. Because it's all the same world, it's all building along, and it's consistent. It gets deeper and deeper every time.
Hey, if you wrote the book once, you may as well reuse it in another game.
Well, look, some of them have skills, man. Gotta read all of them. Gotta read them all. And
Well, I think that's like that kind of speaks to the advantage that like a series like the Elder Scrolls has, because it's been around for a long time. So that lore's been built over decades. Where something like this, I would say probably isn't going to have that level of depth initially because they're just having to create it all out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what that will look like. But I do think they do a good job of having lore that, like, they've got a world and it's interesting and it's cool, but you can discover so many other things if you are sitting down, looking around, reading things, and trying to get more out of the world.
I do hope that the game, if it is a space-based RPG, I hope it's not as dystopian as Fallout. I hope there's some nice sci-fi stuff.
You want some Star Trek as opposed to
Yeah, exactly.
as opposed to like Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like sci-fi made a shift somewhere. It started out with the Jetsons and everyone's gonna have like flying cars and living on crazy planets, and then at some point it became, this is what happens after the world ends.
Yeah, I think
after we destroy the Earth.
as we got closer to the year 2000 and we realized that all of our future dreams weren't going to happen in the year 2000, it's like, oh fuck, well the future's just going to suck. The future's like now, but worse.
Let's not be optimistic anymore.
Right, like I think that was kind of it. Like you hit that milestone and you realize like, oh, it's not as cool as we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point there was a shift, but I do like optimistic sci-fi. I like the idea that here's what all this crazy cool technology could do for us.
Yeah.
But if it's peaceful and without conflict, there's not really a need for heroes either.
Yeah, then that's
So-
not much. That's like playing The Sims then.
Right. So I maybe not as dystopian, but it's got to have some problems that we can fix.
Yeah.
On a
Some
large
problems that
scale.
we can fight.
Well, that's how you fix things,
Yeah.
right? If we learned anything from video games, and this week in particular is a Grumpy Daddy week, because we got the release of God of War, and this is also the week that Yakuza 6 is releasing in the West. So it's all about Grumpy Daddies.
Does Labo come out tomorrow?
Labo is out tomorrow. There is not, to my knowledge, a Grumpy Daddy in that.
Okay.
Gus is the.
I just
Did you
remembered.
forget?
I forgot. I'm really excited now.
Did you
Sorry.
get your stuff? Did you pre-order it?
I pre-ordered it. I guess I should check and see if it's going to ship.
I think we're gonna do.
Sorry, I'm distracted now.
I think we're gonna do a build-along stream.
We should have
Tomorrow.
Labo Funno.
I think we can do that. Also happening in the news, Nintendo has patented some new hardware that they're working on. Now, this may or may not go anywhere. Patents.
Arriving tomorrow by 11 p.m. Get your shit together,
11
Amazon.
PM? What? That's ridiculous.
Is it coming to the office?
Yeah.
Then it'll be here before that.
All right.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine if it's coming to the office. Hey, we could build your set.
They deliver to businesses earlier than residents. So.
Okay.
New stuff besides deliveries.
Yeah.
Aside from Labo, although that's going to be a lot of fun and we should definitely play with it.
We should do that.
Nintendo's hardware, they've patented this idea of screens where objects can move between them, screens that communicate with each other,
Okay, got it.
basically. We're not sure, it's all, what it could be for is all speculation, obviously. The patent was filed last year, but was published this, like just recently, and so we don't know if this is going to be a new iteration of 3DS, if they're already working 6 or 7 years ahead on another generation of
They
console
had that
hardware.
stuff with Tamagotchi, man. You could like link up with your friend's Tamagotchi and your guy could go over to their screen. It's fine.
Well, they also had with the GameCube, there were the link cables.
Yes.
You could send stuff.
Dreamcast at the VMU, and in Sonic, you could grow your little Chow on your VMU.
Yeah. So, there's been a history of communication between different objects, but this one's pretty crazy. Like, you can put screens together and objects will move between them seamlessly. So
I feel
one of
like
the examples in the patent was a multi-screen Pong.
Yeah, I felt like there were some examples that were laying the groundwork for this in the Labo announcement trailer, where you saw like actions coming from a controller, then moving onto a screen or going from a screen like that. So I feel like it could be an extension of that, where you see something just go in between two people playing, even a Switch maybe, side by side.
Yeah, it's it's a cool idea. What makes me think that it could be basically what they want to do beyond 3DS, because they've been very clear that they're continuing to support 3DS, that the 3DS is not going away.
It's everyone's favorite
Hardware
part of Nintendo Direct is the 3DS segment.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
No.
Seeing all those games that aren't coming to Switch, but I want them to.
Yeah.
Yes, there's but I do feel like it's got to start to wind down at some point, and then the question is, are they going to be Switch only for hardware, or do they try to find something else, some other niche for a purely handheld platform? And this seems like it could be something they do. The patent shows at least 2 screens all the time, so if you want to take it as an evolution of 3DS, where or the dual screen setup, or if it's going to be intended primarily for on-the-go multiplayer between people, or maybe both. Maybe we can, hand one off to your little brother or friend or whoever and be playing something while you're in the car, or do single-player stuff and have the 2 screens working together.
Yeah, seems like it's interesting. It opens ideas up for new types of gameplay, new styles of gameplay. So I'm curious to see. I have full faith in them. I know I doubt Nintendo sometimes, and I think their ideas are stupid, and then they release it, and you're like, no, that was actually smart.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Cool.
you did pre-order Labo,
I did, yeah.
and that is one of their more out there ideas.
I love it.
I love that it's stealth teaching kids STEM.
Yeah, maybe I'll finally learn how to code. Yeah, I'll put it on my resume. Proficient with Labo. 6 years of Labo experience. See if anybody calls me out.
And then the final thing happening in the news is the Danish government has weighed in on the loot box as gambling. And they have determined it's gambling. They're giving, so I'm going to look up the exact details here. Let me
And
find them.
it's like the old saying, as Denmark goes, so goes the world. So it's setting a huge precedent here for international law. It's a joke. That's not a saying. I made that up. No one called me on it. I'm disappointed in them. This is me vamping because I know Ashley's looking something up.
Doing a great
So
job.
hold on, let me look really quick.
The best vamping is when you point out that you're vamping. That's how you know that you're experienced at it and that you're really good. And then when you look away from camera because you run out of things to say.
Okay, so this is from the Gaming Authority. Here's a summary. The Netherlands Gaming Authority has completed its study of loot boxes, also known as crates, cases, or packs. Loot boxes are a type of treasure chest that are built into a growing number of games. Loot boxes in games create a mixing of games of chance and games of skill. Although the outcome of games is determined by skill, the outcome of loot boxes is determined by chance. Players usually has to pay for a loot box. The prize that they can win with loot boxes may also have a monetary value. This fact gave rise to the question of whether loot boxes are permitted on the grounds of the Betting and Gaming Act. And the Netherlands Gaming Authority was also interested in whether addiction risks are associated with opening loot boxes. So here's the findings. The study revealed that 4 out of the 10 loot boxes that were studied contravene the law. The reason is that the content of these loot boxes is determined by chance and that the prizes to be won can be traded outside of the game. The prizes therefore have a market value. Offering these types of games of chance to Dutch consumers without a license is prohibited. So they're giving companies 2 months to change the games.
Their rationale makes a lot of sense.
Well, so they're saying that the items in the game have value outside of the game, but what about, like, that doesn't pertain to every game, does it?
No, this says that it was 4 out of the 10 that they studied. It says the analyses that are currently available indicate all of the loot boxes that were studied could be addictive as well, so that's a concern for them. Loot boxes are similar to gambling games such as slot machines and roulette in terms of design and mechanisms. There are, however, no indications of loot boxes being opened on a large scale by problem players and or addicted players. Socially vulnerable groups such as young people are being encouraged to play games of chance.
So I wonder if that means that like Danish versions of the games will have alternate methods to unlock whatever's in the loot boxes, and if they're just essentially going to end up with the better versions of the games we play.
Oh, and there's going to be a black market for the Danish version. Everyone's going to want to import that.
Yeah, or maybe it'll just set a precedent here where everyone's like, well, I want the Danish version. Please just give me the option to get the Danish
Or they'll just stop selling those games in Denmark.
I think that's probably more likely because it's difficult to say here's just the. Also, did you say Danish?
I said Denmark.
Oh, okay.
Because I said they would stop selling it in Denmark.
I think Danish and Dutch are very different things.
I thought you said Danish to begin this.
Sorry, no, they're Dutch. They're from the Netherlands.
Oh.
They're Dutch.
Oh, you said Danish at first.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh, so it's the Dutch then.
It's Dutch. It's
Okay.
the Netherlands Gaming Commission. It's the Dutch.
Oh, I heard Danish once and I went with it.
I'm sorry. That is entirely on me. But because so many of these games, the majority of games that do this are online games, it's difficult then to how do you balance?
Yeah.
We don't have this feature available, but then how is it fair for everyone? So more likely they just won't officially distribute.
That's disappointing for Danish. Danish.
You see, you're screwed now.
Sorry.
For the Dutch.
For Dutch players.
Sorry. I think that it would take more countries adopting this judgment as well in order to make enough of a dent
Or one
in
country.
the market.
America.
Yes. Basically, they need to get a large percentage of the game playing population. One of those countries would need to crack down.
Yeah.
Right now, the U.S. has not had that much luck with it. I know there was a politician in Hawaii who was looking to introduce legislation, but that hasn't gone anywhere. This is the kind of thing as well that can take, depending on the government, years.
Yeah.
The fact that this Dutch one went so quickly is surprising.
I'm curious to know, I don't know enough about the way that this question works. I know nobody here can probably answer this, but I'm curious to know how that relates to EU law. Since does that influence any overall EU regulation, and will that push the EU to adopt it to where it's not an issue in the Netherlands, but an issue in all of Europe? Just something to think about. Again, I know that we probably can't answer that question here.
That's why I'm not talking.
No, but it might take one to start it, and then a couple others to say, yes, we agree. I think there were a few studies done by other countries in the EU that at this time determined that it's not specifically gambling.
Okay.
So it's hard to figure out which way other countries will fall, like which side they'll fall on.
Gotcha.
But regardless, this is the first country that's basically said, you can't do this.
Okay.
And honestly, it's hard to tell what the gaming industry is going to do. Loot boxes are worth a lot of money to the industry, but there's also been a significant backlash against them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
right now they're kind of, even if they're purely cosmetic, in very few instances are they well received.
Right.
We had a little bit of like a backlash when we said that we'd rather pay like $80 to get the whole game than have loot boxes at all. And people are like, well, I don't want to pay $80. I want to play 60, but I also don't want loot boxes. And it's like, I don't know if the gaming industry can support that.
Well, what I've seen loot boxes do is they're kind of replacing the season pass model.
Right.
So a lot of companies, and Battlefront 2 was doing this as well, as they said, we're going to have these loot boxes and microtransactions in here. But all of the feature content will then be available to everyone. That's how they're funding that instead of people buying a season pass. So that way the player base isn't fragmented in terms of who can play on what things. I'm sure companies like EA and Activision that have a lot of these big multiplayer games with multiple map packs and such that they release over a period of time saw this fragmenting of their player base, and that it can be damaging as well to people who do buy the map packs, because there are so many people who didn't buy the map packs that then they're in a smaller pool of potential players for this content that they paid extra money for, and not the best experience. So they said, hey, what if we do this instead? But that doesn't necessarily make loot boxes the right answer.
Right. It doesn't also, it's not a good solution for single player games at all.
No, like Shadow of War. Yeah, you ran into that.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like I think I talked about this before, producing Shadow of War, so I'll just mention it very quickly. It was fine for the most part until you got to like the last part of the game. And I was like, oh, this is obviously the tacked on part to try to get you to invest in loot boxes. And I think they're actually removing the loot boxes, I think, next month from Shadow of War.
Oh,
they
I'll
are.
go back to it at some point.
It's next month. It might be. Yeah, it's June or July. They did announce they're removing the loot boxes, but then does it mean they leave the grind?
I'm curious to know how the end is going to work now. So yeah,
they're retooling it. They're making it smaller.
They're making it smaller.
So they're going to make it. Okay, so they're gonna. Thanks, Justin. So they're gonna make it a little bit less grindy.
Yeah. So
which indicates that it was.
They knew
intended.
it was right.
Yeah.
So they're gonna remove the ability to spend real-world money on game gold will be removed for good on May 8th, and gold war chests in the market will be permanently removed July 17th.
Well, it's good to see that at least some capacity companies. This is a little late, but like Shadow of War is removing them, and Battlefront 2 is at least making changes that are favoring gamers' requests. It's good to see that like we're getting some movement on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll agree, and I liked Shadow of War, but the game's been out for six months. They definitely got.
Yeah, they
pumped their money, and now they're removing it.
Yeah, they got what they could, and now that the cash flow has stopped, they're like, no, we'll make some good faith.
Right.
Yeah. I don't really think that the loot box microtransaction model has any place in single player games.
No.
But then you're also getting companies that are just removing the single player part. So the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 just not going to have a single player campaign.
Yeah. Have they talked about, this is a side note, have they talked about microtransactions or DLC for God of War?
No.
I'm curious. I don't think that game would have microtransactions, but I can definitely see it having DLC, and I would totally pay for that.
According to usgamer.net, I'll see who they're citing for that. God of War has no plans for DLC expansion at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, so nothing that they've announced, which I feel like they put out. I feel like they put out the complete game.
Dude,
I don't feel like there's any part that's like in Mass Effect Andromeda. It was very clear that some Quarian Arc DLC was planned. They made references to it in the game, like, oh, the Quarian Arc's going to be here any day, or like, hey, it's missing. We're looking for the Quarian Arc. Have you seen it? And it was enough of a feature that you were like, I feel like this is going to be in there. They've planted seeds, but it's not feature complete. God of War feels
God of War 100%, yes.
I'm reading the article that I just cited from usgamer.net or usgamer.net, and it's a quote from director Cory Barlog. Says he has no plans for DLC, and his exact quote is, "I like to tell a complete story and include all of my ideas from the start."
And it absolutely feels that way. The game feels complete. I'm only saying that because, like, the game, not that it needs more, but you could easily see players wanting more after the 50-hour journey to completion of that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly enough fun that it would be great to even explore more stuff in that world.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that might be the job of future games.
Yeah.
They did say that there's room for additional God of War games after this.
Cool. Yeah,
Boy of War?
Boy of War. And then he's going to hit puberty, and then he will be the next Beard of War.
I was going to say Pube of War, but Beard of War sounds better.
Yeah, sure, Pube of War. Why not? Why not? Could be any of those things. Yeah, it's marketable.
Yeah.
All right, I think that about wraps it up for this episode of Glitch Please. So let us know if you're planning on playing God of War, if you've already picked it up and you're playing it, and if so, what you think of it. Would love to know your thoughts, as well as on all the news, the Dutch, not Danish. God, I hope I got all that right. Ruling the. Are you gonna play Labo? We want to know that too.
Yeah, let us know what you're
I
gonna
want
do.
to
play
your,
God of War.
Play
We'll
your
play
Labo.
Labo
It's gonna
tomorrow.
be great.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. We'll do it. We'll do a stream
Labo
on that,
tomorrow.
I think. Okay,
Great.
and
Oh, I'm
with
gonna
that, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.